This court case between Xbox and Activision has to be one of the best things to happen, while at the same time, one of the worst. Best because we are getting a once in a lifetime opportunity to learn about how the industry works, how much games actually cost to make, what people say in public versus in private, how certain consoles are viewed by some compared to others, how much the big wigs contradict themselves. Seriously, if I had $1 for every time someone online said, well, blank said X 4 years ago, only to then go directly contradict that in this court hearing, I can retire from my full-time job, buy a house on an island, and relax for the rest of my life. But unfortunately, that's not how the world works. With the court case now over, we are awaiting the final decision from the judge, which should be sometime in the month of July. I believe July 18th or so. So today, I want to go over some of the biggest highlights that we saw from this, and also just my personal thoughts on the matter. This is an amazing learning opportunity for us, and I think we all need to take a step back from the usual console war BS and really look at what we can learn and see what goes on going forward into the future. What up, you nerds? Tallen here, 59 Direct, and subscribe to the channel so I can get some personal therapy after this whole event. I am ready for something else to break in the news, just anything else. If you enjoyed the video, then a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated. Helps us out with the old scary algorithm that is YouTube. If you dislike the video though, then hit the dislike button and comment below how we can improve our videos going forward. All right, let's get into this. Okay, now I know these types of videos bring out the bad side in gaming. Remember that worst thing I mentioned at the beginning of the video? So here is my one and only point to the fanboys of Xbox, Sony, or whoever. Leave your comments now, dislike the video, go ahead. I will start once you are all done and left. I'm gonna leave now and come back soon. Okay, are they gone? Are the rational normal people here? All right, let's get started. As stated, I actually love that we get this rare chance to see what it is like on the inside. This is a great learning opportunity, and damn did we learn a lot. So let's talk about some of the big ones. We obviously can't cover everything, but these particular parts are what I personally found fascinating. It also kind of shows us that there are parts of this where we actually have an idea of how some of this works, and other parts that we're just like, holy crap, are we way off on this? Let's start with one of my personal favorites, and that is the cost of games. Now, it should be absolutely no secret that the prices to make games has increased tenfold. Remember Destiny's budget, Halo Infinite? Those games were notorious for having huge budgets. Regardless if a game succeeds or flops, games these days, most of the AAA ones, are crazy expensive. This is why we see companies like Sony diving into the live service games for not only the profit, to be honest, it's mostly about the profit, but to most likely also help fund these gigantic games. Again, hopefully they are a company, and if those shareholders see big money signs after their first live service, they're gonna want more of those. It's gonna be EA all over again. Sony, don't do it, bro. One of the major things we saw from this entire court case was a very bad redacted document on Sony's side, and we got to see how much The Last of Us Part 2 costs and how much Horizon Forbidden West costs. According to the document, we saw that The Last of Us Part 2 cost Sony $220 million, roughly, while having 200 full-time workers. Horizon Forbidden West, on the other hand, costs around $212 million with roughly 300 full-time employees. We're going to come back to that employee number later. Now, obviously, there are still things that will most likely sent out to other companies, exported, all that stuff to have things worked on, so things get done in a somewhat timely manner. Now, basic math can actually show us how much they made from initial sales of these said games, or an estimated guess. We obviously don't know anything with the marketing or anything like that, so we gotta kind of take it with a grain of salt. Let's take The Last of Us Part 2, for example. We take the $60, the price of games back then, and multiply it by the total sale numbers. In this case, it was 4 million within the first week. I believe in total they've sold about 10 million copies, give or take. I could be wrong in that though. So let's stick with the 4 million for the first weekend alone. That comes out to about $240 million. So minus the cost of the game, We would usually minus marketing here as well, but again, we don't know that information. And we can assume that this game for Sony made a profit of about $28 million. Now, to me, that's a lot of money. I know to a big company like that, that's kind of maybe on the lower side, maybe an average. I'm not really sure. Again, they're dealing with billions and trillions of dollars, depending on who you're talking about. But to me, I see 28 million. That's a good profit right there. Again, not a perfect number, but it kind of gives us an idea. Also, we can put 2 and 2 together on why Sony bought a company like Bungie. I mean, it's not too difficult, but still. These games, as we've stated before already, are expensive. Sony shareholders want live service games. They need help to make said games, and who better to help than Bungie? Regardless of your thoughts on the Destiny franchise, I've personally taken a break from that game. Those servers are trash. They have made bank on that game. They know how the live service stuff works. So if Sony and crew can make a good live service game that brings in more profits than something that's just like The Last of Us Part 2's money, which again is not bad, but to them, they want more, then that's not only going to help to fund bigger games, but the shareholders are going to be happy. Again, these are companies. That's all they care about in the end. Speaking of CEOs, another thing we learned is that people lie. Okay, I know that was a big no shit moment, but we got to see a ton of emails between these company heads. Some between Xbox heads and other Xbox heads, while some are between Xbox and Sony and others. Remember how statements were made over 4 years ago, how Xbox said they had no plans to buy Japanese developers or companies or anything, or how Sony said that they thought it would be terrible for COD to be off of PlayStation if this goes through? Well, in the emails, we saw the exact opposite. Xbox, for example, did have plans to buy some Japanese developers like Sega and even bigger companies like Bungie again. Emails with Sony, Jim Ryan, and Phil Spencer, and even Bobby from Activision stated that he was confident COD would be on PlayStation for years and years. Yeah, okay. So yeah, everyone was kind of fudging the truth there a bit. Of course, being under oath now though, we are starting to see their true statements. Regardless, this should show everyone, hopefully, that no matter what statement is made in public or private emails, CEOs at multiple different levels will say what they need to in order to please the shareholders. Of course, they like to look good in public and everything, but in the end, they only care about what the shareholders think. Now, some other interesting information to come out of these last few days have included the following, and there's a lot of them. Sony claiming that all developers that they've talked to said Game Pass is bad, which I will discuss at the end in my own personal opinion on this whole thing. Microsoft CEO saying he would love to get rid of the console exclusivity, even though Microsoft is known themselves for making a monopoly out of the computer industry. CEO Bobby of Activision demanded a 80-20 revenue split from Xbox, up from the usual 70-30 that they have with PlayStation. Otherwise, COD would only go to PlayStation and PC. That was a little wild, personally. Bobby publicly admitting that he does not want COD on a subscription service, even though if this goes through, that's exactly what COD is going to do. So, sorry, Bobby. There's a lot of talk on both sides about how they don't consider the Switch to be a competition, even though the Switch is selling better than both PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles. Just saying. Oh, that's another bonus thing right there. We found out that the Switch successor is going to be around the same power as the PlayStation 4/Xbox One, according to Bobby from Activision. Again, these are not 100% confirmed or anything, but he definitely has a lot more insider knowledge than we do, and hey, you know what? If it happens, it happens. Another oops on Sony's side was revealing how many players on PlayStation only play Call of Duty. Dude, gamers, this is my message to you, not to Sony or anyone else. Expand your games. Come on, there's more to life than Call of Duty. Oh, and my personal favorite, documents showed Microsoft considering buying Square Enix. Watch this video if you want to know why I'm laughing so hard. I could keep going on and on, but we would really be here all day. Regardless, this has shown us a lot of what the business is and what it's like on the inside. That's usually pretty tight-lipped, unless of course you have some connections of your own. I just really like this cool opportunity to see all this learning experience that we have with learning and seeing what it's like on the inside. Again, we didn't get to learn everything, but it's definitely cool to see what we speculate, see what's right, see what's way off and wrong, and just everything in between personally. Like I stated at the very beginning of this video, this whole thing is a learning experience. I personally have tried to look beyond the console war BS that has emerged from this. I do, however, have some personal opinions on this whole situation. So again, this is the part where certain viewers can leave their comments telling me how wrong I am, which company is more evil and all that stuff. So go ahead, I can wait. The rest of us can wait as well. Go ahead, leave your comments, leave your dislikes. Okay, have those people left? Comments been made? All right, cool. Let's get into some personal opinions now. My personal opinion on this entire thing is I think this is actually a little bad for the industry. If I could have it my personal way, Activision would not be bought, but they would fire their entire board.
You are done. Fired.
And they would get some new blood in there. Really work on making great games again, and also just a great environment for the developers and everyone else. Then those games could go to all consoles. I also at the same time though believe that some exclusives are a good thing. As much as people like to shout that no exclusives would fix everything, would it? Would it really? What would be the difference between Xbox and PlayStation at that point? Every game would be on both boxes, so what's different? See the flaw in that logic there? I mean, let's be perfectly honest here. Exclusives have been around since the Nintendo and Sega days, before either PlayStation or Xbox were around. And I don't see it going away anytime soon. So as much as the Xbox guys on one side like to say, oh, no more exclusive or anything, that's not gonna happen. The reason these companies go though with Nintendo or Sony over Xbox sometimes with these exclusives is they know they're gonna sell well. You want to know more about this? We did an entire video on why Square and Xbox basically will never work until some things change on both sides. It's not just one side, it's both sides. Speaking of Square, Microsoft could easily match that money for Sony, but Square won't do it because they know that their games will sell better on PlayStation and they can save money on resources having to go towards an Xbox version until it's way later, and then they can get the free money from Game Pass to put it on there. Oh yeah, Game Pass. I gotta talk about this. All right. Look, all cards on the table right now. Game Pass is amazing, especially for indie games and even AA games. This is why I call BS on Ryan's claim that all the developers and publishers hate Game Pass. That's just not true. It's an amazing opportunity for small developers and small teams to get their games out there without the worry of the huge financial burden that this brings upon them. However, once you start going into the AAA game space, most are not going to put their games on Game Pass for day one. That's just lost revenue. This is also why Sony won't do day one on their own subscription service. It's why we're seeing the slow death of the day one on Game Pass. If the Starfield and Forza early access works as Xbox hopes, which by the way, it's a great business decision, say goodbye to first party AAA games day one on Xbox Game Pass. I mean, they're technically still there, but let's be perfectly honest. No early access version of a game and the day one release of a game are vastly different. They are literally the same game. One patch never fixes anything. So you either pay up or wait. It's the sad truth. Okay, then how do you suggest Xbox stays competitive with Sony and Nintendo since they buy so many timed exclusives as full-time exclusives, I hear you might say? Simple. Organically grow your brand, Xbox, like Sony and Nintendo have. You've got to put in the hard work to get results. One thing I'm seeing nobody talk about is the 200 plus full-time employees that worked on The Last of Us Part 2 and the almost 300 on Horizon. This is something that both Nintendo and Sony do. They have full-time employees on their games. Now, obviously, not everything is full-time, and they've definitely had some issues in the past is what I'll say. But Xbox and Microsoft are notorious for hiring tons of contract workers. Yes, again, obviously, the other two do the same to some degree, / export work to other smaller companies and areas. But look at what happened with something like Halo Infinite. This was the result of not only just bad management, but tons of people working on the game and then being replaced 16 months later with new contract workers, who then had to go and learn everything because they didn't have anyone to teach them really. They had to learn everything that their predecessor did, and then start to finally work on what they could for the game, only to then be like, oh, well, 16 months is up already, time to move on, and then the next wave came in. That was their process basically for the entire game. Obviously, they did have some full-time employees, but nowhere near what the other two have done. Xbox has some amazing IPs. It's time to give them the proper teams and time to work on these games. I know Phil said in an interview over a month ago that this would not work, that just making great games will obviously fix everything. The reason it won't is because you need to make proper teams, hire people full-time. That's not a simple contract job, and really show that you care. Again, I know this is business stuff. They don't care. No CEO, no board, no nothing does. It's just the way it is. Look, this script I'm currently writing at this moment is going over 5 pages. I could go on and keep talking and talking, but we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with the final decision from the judge. You know my thoughts personally already right now. If this goes through, then congrats, Xbox. I really am. Congrats. I just hope everyone is not expecting every single property under Activision to all of a sudden get rebooted in a new game coming out. I mean, we literally just had an ex-Rare developer say Banjo-Kazooie won't be made since there's no audience, according to him. I don't expect Xbox to start making all these games gamers want. They want to go for the big ones that are going to make them the most money. Again, that's just how business works. And all those games that we wish would be made, they're just going to be put in the closet, basically. Plus, I personally just don't trust them to keep their word / all of their word. And that's for any big company. That's just the way it's always been. They only care about their bottom line. And hopefully, after seeing all this stuff, you kind of understand that as well. But now, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below if you've stuck around this long and have not left a comment yet. What do you think of everything that we've learned from this trial? Keep it civil, please. Which way do you think this is going to go? Do you think it's going to go one way? Do you think it's going to the other? We'll know soon. If you enjoyed the video and discussion, then a like and a sub to the channel will be greatly appreciated, as it shows us that you like these types of videos and we can make more of these. Also, make sure to check out our guides and other videos on everything gaming related. Also, follow us over on TikTok if you happen to hang over there sometimes. I've been Tallen with 59 Direct. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Johnny.